Let's talk about the 11 books I read in the month of April. I had no idea I read that many books until I sat down to do this video and I counted the amount of books that I read. Oh my goodness, I think that's the most amount of books I've ever read in 1 month. I'm pretty sure it is. I went a little crazy in the month of April. So let's talk about them because we do have what I'm deeming a 5-star series. We've got a lot of 4 stars. We've got a couple audiobooks that I really enjoyed. So let's get into it. I also like to tell you the videos that each books go along with. So the first 3 books are on my 24-hour reading challenge on my channel if you want a more in-depth reactions of me reading these books. Starting off with The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I actually read 2 Christina Lauren books this month. I rated this one a 3-star, and I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that most Christina Lauren books for me are very middle of the road. Most of them are 3 stars. So I might take a break at the Christina Lauren books. Maybe I'll circle back to them eventually, but I will say their books are very unique in the sense that they surround unique principles. I don't think that's the right word that I'm looking for, but basically with this book, there's a dating app where it uses your DNA to match you with someone else. So basically like if you have similar DNA, I think it is, something like that. And so they started a show that's kind of like The Bachelorette in the sense that there's one girl and like 5 guys or something like that, and they're basically testing this app to see if the DNA match is really actually a match in real life. So the main girl doesn't know like who has the closest DNA match. It's really cool, and also the main girl is an author and you're introduced to her before you're even introduced to the TV show. So it's a very cool premise. I just don't feel like it was executed in a way that I was obsessed with. I don't know. And for me, I'm also very picky with romances, so it was okay. It was just nothing to write home about, you know? The next book is The Honey Don't List, again by Christina Lauren, and I love books like this. It was kind of like an HGTV meets romance book, and I love books that are like that. Mary Kay Andrews does that a lot with her books. Love it. It just felt too much HGTV for me. Like at first it felt too much like Chip and Joanna Gaines, then I realized nope, it's not them. I think it's like loosely based on a different TV show. I don't know. Basically the main couple in this book, they're a show, like they are an absolute disaster. They should not be together. They're painted in a bad light, especially the main girl. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that I felt like it was based on an HGTV show and then they're turning around and kind of bashing them. I didn't like that, but there's also this side plot that you get in the book that like doesn't really go anywhere. You didn't really need it in my opinion. So it wasn't horrible. Like I said, 3 stars not bad. It just didn't tickle my fancy, you know? It didn't make the stars align for me. Next I have Bathe in Manhattan by Layne. This is my first 4-star of the month. It was so good. Honestly, I'm thinking about making it a 5-star. It was just so cute because I still have that little giddy feeling. And I read this very early in the month of April and I'm still getting that super giddy feeling from reading a good romance. I don't even know what trope you would say this is. Possibly enemies to lovers? I don't even know. But it's so cute. It's basically about this girl who works for this family because her family died, but she is very rich. Like she's like family money kind of rich, for lack of better terms, because she works for this family but she does it for free. She's basically an assistant for free, but just because she loves this family and they like basically raised her. But this family owns a business. So think of like, I don't know, an example of a business that the CEO continues to be the eldest son or one of the sons in the family becomes CEO. So that's kind of how this family works. But they didn't think that there was a son in line to become CEO. And you find out why. I'm not gonna go into it just because there's a lot of backstory, but someone comes in and he's just very different from what they expect and what they want. So they put the main girl character with him to kind of train him, I don't know, teach him etiquette of this CEO big business world and the world of New York, because obviously it's set in New York. They go shopping, they learn the business. It's so cute. They get to know each other. Ugh, I just ate it up. It's a very lighthearted, almost rom-com-y type romance, and those are just my favorite, you know? It's not too insta-lovey, but it still got to the point pretty quickly. Loved, loved, loved. And I don't even remember why I did 5-star. Like, that's what I'm saying. What happened when I rated this book? You know, something had to go off for me to not rate it a 5-star, but at this point, I don't remember what, because it was so good. And Made in Manhattan kind of started this train of 4 stars for me. I have 1, 2, 3, four stars in a row, starting with Made in Manhattan, because the next book is And This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and I actually listened to the audiobook of this one because whenever someone on YouTube says, oh, this audiobook is really good, I check it out on Libby, okay? Because one, I love audiobooks when I work. I love audiobooks when I have a car ride. I love audiobooks when I'm cleaning. Well, actually recently I've been rewatching old Disney shows while I clean, but that's besides the point. I am such an audiobook girly. Like if I'm sitting down and doing computer work, I love having a little lighthearted audiobook in the background. And I say lighthearted, like it has to be lighthearted, you know? At least for me. Like I can't listen to a fantasy book while doing anything. Oh, I also love audiobooks for when I go on my walks. Basically, I'm just saying I'm on an audiobook kick, and this one was such a good audiobook. Now I understand why people say that it's a good audiobook, because it is. It's basically about these two women who meet in a bathroom because they share the same birthday, so they like get to know each other, they start talking, whatever. And one of the girls is a podcast host, and so basically the other girl's like, hey, I've got a story for you on your podcast. Like I think you want this on your podcast, like you want to listen to this. And it's true, she definitely wanted that on her podcast because it was a little bit crazy, a little twisty-turvy. I didn't feel like it was too crazy to where it was like super unrealistic, but it being more realistic also made it a little bit more scary in the sense that it was like, oh, can this just happen to anyone? But maybe that's my delusional brain thinking, because I feel like it could happen to anyone. I don't know. But it was really good. I really recommend the audiobook on this one, but also listening to it, I could easily see why the book itself would be really good as well. So I don't know. Depends on what you're looking for. Either way, it was really good. Next, I read the entire A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy and the prequel. So 4 books in total. I started with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I don't know why I didn't start with the prequel. Maybe just because it was published after the trilogy. I don't know. That was probably my thought process, and that's what I did. I definitely didn't need the prequel, but we'll talk about it. So, started with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. If you don't know what this is about a girl named Pip, and she is working on her senior capstone project. And for her senior project, she decides to do a deep dive into the case of, wait, why am I blanking? I think her name is Addie. No, it's not. It's Andy. She follows Andy, who was tragically killed a couple years back. So she basically uncovers some things. She really does a deep dive into the case. She basically acts like a detective in these books, and I feel like that's all I can tell you. It's really good. I rated the first 2 a 4-star. So A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was a 4-star, and Good Girl Bad Blood was also a 4-star, which was the second book in the series. And I'm not going to give you an in-depth of what this one is about because I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously you should read the first one and then the second one. But then I read the third one, which is As Good as Dead, and this was a 5-star read for me, which I feel like makes the entire series a 5-star because you obviously have to read the first 2 before reading this one. And it is so worth it. Obviously I liked the first 2, there were 4 stars, but the last one hit so hard. It was so good, and I kid you not, there has not been a day that I haven't thought about this book since reading it. It was so good. I'm just obsessed with it. Oh my gosh. And it's like, you don't even expect what happens in this book to happen. It's gonna like come at you at the side. You know, you're not gonna expect it. I want everyone to read this series just because of this book. It was so good. Plus, these books are becoming a TV show. So you definitely want to read it before it becomes a TV show, which I think the show is coming out later this month. Oh, nope. I meant later this year. That would be great if it came out later this month. I don't know exactly when it comes out, but it comes out this year at some point. Like I mentioned, I did read the novella after I read all 3 of the books. I think that's mostly just because she published the novella after all of these books. I think that's probably because people wanted more of the story of how Pip picked her capstone project, because in the first book you really just jump right into it, which I really appreciated, but I see why people could have wanted more of that backstory of her. So basically that's what it was, and I just didn't feel like after reading the trilogy I needed more backstory on Pip. I already felt like I knew her enough, and it like just made sense in my head why she would pick this case as her capstone project. But it was an interesting little book. I did listen to the audiobook. It's a really short book, probably only a couple hundred pages, maybe even less, because I think the audiobook was like 3 hours long, if that. It was super short, but I don't know. I just didn't love it. It was a 3-star. I just didn't feel it necessary for me to go back and read the prequel when I had already read all 3. I don't know. And you can definitely read the prequel before you read the 3 of them. I feel like that would probably make more sense. But I don't know what Holly Jackson recommends or what anyone says the reading order is. I really just jumped right into it. So I don't know. Also, I bought these books as a set and Killjoy just was not in my set of the 3 books. So I just assumed for some reason that it was combined into one of the books. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. So I didn't realize until I was done that I didn't have Killjoy, but it was okay. I did it. I survived. I didn't need it, but it was a fun little, cute little read. You know? I don't know if that's making any sense, but hopefully it is. And then I listened to Finlay Donovan is Killing It. This was again another audiobook where someone on YouTube said that they really liked the audiobook and that immediately put a hold on Libby. Immediately. And I'm so glad I did. I rated this a 4-star and I truly was convinced that it would be a 5-star the entire time I was listening to this audiobook because it was so good. I kid you not. I was giggling at my desk. I was doing like this. I was kicking my feet. Like it was so funny. It was the perfect amount of like a tiny little bit of romance, really funny, a little bit of thriller, obsessed. It was so good. But there was a tiny little bit of the ending that I was like, that's not what I want. That is not what I want, which made me rate it a 4-star. And I do feel pretty confident in that rating. Again, like I said, simply because a tiny little bit in the ending, I was just like, no, I can't get behind that. I can't. And I wish I could tell you what it was. I'm not going to. But if you've read this and you know what I'm talking about, girl. But basically though, this is about a girl who is in a coffee shop with I think her publisher or her manager, something like that, because she's an author. And she's basically talking about her next up and coming book where she writes these murder mysteries about women killing their husbands, I think, or killing someone. I don't think it's their husbands, just killing someone. But someone overhears her and thinks that she's a hitman. So they basically are like, I'll pay you this much money to kill this guy for me. And then things just go crazy from there on out. She's also in the middle of a divorce. And I'm not crazy into like the divorce trope or anything like that, but I think this author did it perfectly where the divorce was still there, but it wasn't the forefront of things, and I appreciated that. I'm also already started the audiobook of the second book of this. So I'm in the middle of that one right now. Well, I'm probably like 20% of the way in that one. I'm sure we'll talk about that one in the next wrap up. Then next I read a very anticipated read for me, even though this book has been out for a very long time to the point where it's a movie already, but this is My Sister's Keeper. I rated this a 3-star. I think part of the problem was that I had a little bit of the book spoiled for me. I thought it was going to only just be a tiny little bit, and I think it was just a tiny little bit, but it was still a tiny bit towards the end. So I knew part of the wrap up towards the end. I don't really know if it was considered part of the wrap up. I don't know, but I did know a tiny little bit of it because I saw the trailer on Instagram and I stupidly read through the comments because I was trying to figure out what movie it was from. I did obviously figure it out because then I was like, oh, I want to read the book before I watch the movie. Yeah, I got a little bit spoiled. So that was really upsetting. But basically this is about a girl who, this book very much crosses the line. Well, hold on. It doesn't cross the line. It kind of like tiptoes the line. It makes you think about like your morals and what's right and wrong, because it kind of feels like this book, there is no right and wrong. I don't know. I don't think that makes any sense, but basically it's about this girl who, her parents created her like genetically because they needed a donor for their other daughter who has cancer. So she was basically born to become a donor, and that's exactly what happened. So her whole life she spent donating a bunch of things to her sister, and it gets to the point where she's like, no, like I'm done donating all this stuff for my sister because I'm spending all this time in the hospital. And she's kind of like the forgotten child, and they kind of have two forgotten children, to be so honest. You'll learn a lot, things unfold. I rated it a 3 simply because the ending, absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated the ending. Horrible ending. Literally came out of left field. Had no idea it would end like that, which normally is a good thing, but I could not get behind this ending. Hated it. Hated it. Everything else, it was like middle of the road. It was okay, nothing crazy, wasn't bad. Then the end, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? That's how you choose to end this book? Are you joking? If you read the book or seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That irked me, okay? It irked me. I understood why she ended it like that, but oh my gosh. But I didn't expect it. I didn't I didn't like it, probably because I didn't expect it, and it's not like it's a thriller book. Like, I was supposed to expect the ending, I feel like. Okay, the last book I read this month is probably going to be the hardest book to talk about because it was a rough read. It was A Little Life. Now maybe you will understand a little bit more about why I'm saying it was a rough read. This book is so heavy. Check the trigger warnings before you even think about reading this book, because also I feel like the synopsis, it doesn't sound like it would be that heavy of a book, but it is. It follows, I think it's 4 guys who graduated college. They all met in college. You basically follow them as they figure out their lives and what they want to do with their lives, and you get backstory on specifically one of the characters you really deep dive into, and you follow him the most because he also has the most tragic story. I feel like that's all I'm comfortable saying. So if you're interested in reading this book, look up the trigger warnings. I will tell you, I was crying at multiple points in this book. Very intense. And if I had to give it a rating, it would be a 4 stars, simply because it made me so sad and I had to keep putting the book down because it's just so heavy. But her writing was probably one of the most beautiful writing I've ever experienced, but I just couldn't get behind rating it a 5 star because of how heavy it was. Just for me, I just couldn't get into it enough to where it's a 5 star. I don't know if that makes sense, because I still think about the book and I still think about the characters, but in a sad way. You know, I'm not thinking about the book in like a loving way. I don't know if that makes sense, but a 4 is still pretty good. I'm actually in the middle of 2 books right now, which is Sell or Be Sold, which I'm really not liking. I might DNF that book. And then I'm also reading Throne of Glass, which I am really liking. I'm less than 100 pages into it right now, so I still have a lot of ways to go. That will be probably my next reading vlog because I am filming that. But a couple more books on my radar for next month is Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I just picked this book up. So excited. I also want to read a couple more beachy type reads, so probably a couple Elle and Hildebrand books, and then obviously I want to get through the Throne of Glass series. I don't think I'm going to finish it next month by any means, but I'm probably going to finish like 2 or 3 of the books in the series next month, maybe more, I don't know, depends on how it goes. But that's like my mini really short TBR for next month. I feel like next month I'm not going to have a crazy reading month. Like, I'm not going to read that many books next month simply because I'm moving, so that's going to be like my main priority next month, is to settle into my space, get things together. I feel like I'm rambling now at this point. Things are no longer making sense in my brain. I need to eat, finish my coffee. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you want me to read, what book recommendations you have, what your favorite book of April was. Hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!